The local commission meeting for June 10th, 2024 is called to order at 5:31 p.m. Would the clerk please call roll?
Chair Hernandez,
Here.
Commissioner DA, Commissioner Frazier, Commissioner Damiana,
Present.
Commissioner Bernicki, Commissioner Edward, here, Commissioner Tozer.
Here.
We have a quorum. I'd like to move that we have Commissioner Frazier's and Commissioner Diaz and Commissioner Brugnicki's absences excused. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. Motion passes. So next item, approval of the agenda. I would like to move and add an agenda item for the presentation on First and Virginia mural. Can I have a second?
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All against, say nay. Motion passes. Administrator McCann.
Chair Hernandez, I would suggest that the First in Virginia presentation that staff has prepared goes after Trolls on the Bridge, because there is some suggestion about how we might use the remainder of the funds for that project, so I would suggest that you will have the presentation on First in Virginia before item number 4.
Item number 4, nothing here there.
On existing business, vote on remainder of funds.
Okay, and just add the First of Virginia here.
Yeah, before vote on remainder of funds.
And sure enough, I've got a note here that says, should we use this toward First of Virginia? That works perfect. Back to staff announcements. Are there any staff announcements for this?
Yes, we have a staff announcement that was in the packet, and then I've created a PowerPoint presentation, a short one, to talk about the things. So the first is in the packet. There was a question in our last meeting regarding where we've advertised the plank project, and we just included that in the packet so everybody can see that. And then
That's not the right thing, so.
Cultural Commission, yeah, that's it.
I can give another update while we're trying to figure this out. I reached out to Betsy McWhinney. She managed the Cultural Commission Facebook page, so she has the login information.
Oh, good.
So she's gonna switch the ownership over to us so we can have that page back. So it has a pretty good following on it, so. So we'll get that pretty soon. Yeah.
And the Art in Bloom event was concluded yesterday, 3 days, and it was a smashing success. It was well attended, lots of beautiful art, more submissions than ever, so.
Nice.
Oh, there it is.
I cannot. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Okay.
Okay, we'll go with this. So, couple things. So we discussed last meeting about trying to. Oh, it's okay. We don't need to do full presentation. I'm just going to the slides. So slide number 2.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, now it's showing this one. Okay, 1 second. That's what it's sharing. But now we need this over here, right? You know how to exit out of this?
I don't know how to use
Oh,
any of
that's
this.
There. Okay.
Okay. So at the last meeting, I shared that we had just a tremendous response at Duvall Days on, I had these little postcards. We opened up City Hall for people to engage and vote on a theme for the mural on Main Street for the mini mart, with birds of the Snoqualmie Valley being the one that got the most votes. So I put together a proposal concept here. In the past, this mural was done by local students. I talked to a couple of people over the last few weeks, and there is a really big arts community in the two local high schools here. And so a proposal concept would be to do a limited invitation to local students to do that mural. Proposed budget, so there's an option here, so you have $6,000 left in budget that the Cultural Commission can use for projects that haven't been funded yet. So one thing you could do is to use that remaining funds for that project. The other is you can request an economic development grant. There's still money there. Ideally, we would decide that tonight because I have a meeting with the Economic Development Subcommittee of Council on Friday. So any proposals that come from this commission, I should propose to them on Friday, and I can write it up if that's the direction you want to go. So two possible funding sources here for the Main Street mini mart mural. Next slide. So just kind of an idea, Indigenous birds of the valley, and this becomes relevant for the next slide. So lots of beautiful birds here in the Snoqualmie River Valley to put on that mural. So I just included kind of the local Indigenous. We have an osprey here in Big Rock Ball Field. We put a big osprey nest up there. We have bald eagles and then some spring and summer and winter birds here in the Snoqualmie Valley. So lots of options, lots of examples to give to students to choose from. Next slide. So I want to show this. So I was in the Association of Washington Cities conference last week with the mayor. And I went to a presentation as one of the keynote speakers on like building emotional connection to cities and how to love cities and building residents' love of cities. And this, I took pictures from the screen. I thought this was absolutely charming. So in Greenville, South Carolina, they created a mural, but they also did this thing, and it's they built 9 die-cast mice, and they put them along their Main Street, and then on their website, I took a few clippets. On their website, they give clues, that there, on where the mice are. You can go to their website and try to track down these little mice that are all over Main Street in Greenville, South Carolina. And so, and they're like, some are next to businesses, you can put one next to the library. So just thinking about how to combine that mural project with something that's just a little bit more is potentially taking die cuts of some of the birds that would be in that mural and putting them along Main Street here in the city.
That's fabulous, yeah, hidden.
Yeah,
Find
yeah.
the bird.
So I included the, all of the kinds of birds we have here in the Snoqualmie Valley. There would be a ton to choose from, and you could put them all over the place. I think it'd be a really good project. Would add a little bit more to the project. So, the initial budget I was thinking of for the mural was $5,000. You could add an additional $1,000 to do the whole project together with the die cut, or the cast animals. I think it would probably take up the remaining $6,000 to do that project together. But it would be a really nice full concept proposal if you chose to use the money that way. So just an option.
I have a question. How much could we expect to get from the economic development grant if we apply?
So you could propose from that committee all of it. I will share with you, the committee has funded a full proposal, so the whole grant amount that was requested from some of the grant requesters, they also chose not to fund the full amount too. So I can't guarantee that, you know, what they would fund. There's enough money in the economic development grant funding program. You know, they're looking for projects that are kind of what I'm sure Commissioner Tozer understands, you know, kind of shovel ready, like a full proposal ready to go. And their concept is that they're more likely to fund is, will it bring tourism or economic development into the city? That is the requirement for the grant. So certainly a mural is one thing that they might be willing to fund. Adding another element to it where people are engaging in the downtown corridor and potentially near businesses might be you know, more interesting to them. So by the end of the night, it would, if I could get, you know, some understanding of how you want to use that, the remaining funds either on this or the First in Virginia or some other project. That would be good, because then I can decide, you know, what potentially to ask that committee for.
So could I have a list of the different things we would be voting on? Like with the First Virginia mural or the interactive kind of displays that is part of the mural?
So that's on the agenda for your final agenda items. So at the end of the evening, we can kind of talk about, or when that agenda item comes up, what you all want to vote on. So I can present you options and then you all decide like where what you want to vote on, and you know, if you want to delay a vote. So there's one other presentation that will be relevant to how we use that money. So the other thing that we talked about last week was coming up with new ideas, and that I would present some of the ideas that we were iterating on to you all. I thought that I would kind of piecemeal them so that I don't present you a 30 PowerPoint presentation with every idea that we talked about. So this is the first one. Native plants was the third highest vote after Birds of the Valley, native plants. Can't remember what was the third other highest vote getter. Native plants might have been second after native birds.
Is it water features?
No, that was what kind of art, but for the mural.
Oh.
I can't remember, it's in the packet, but native plants was also very high in the top 3. So this is in the Issaquah Highlands. It's actually really new. It is a mural that recently went up on the stairs in a mixed use neighborhood in the Issaquah Highlands. It connects where Dick's Sporting Goods is and the business district up to a residential area. This is Pacific Trillium. It's native to the Pacific Northwest in this area. So what we saw from our engagement in Duvall Days was we have a high interest in mural and mosaics. We do lack space for additional large scale murals, and the few large spaces we have, I would suggest you potentially reserve for Indigenous mural, because as articulated by the community, Indigenous art was the most interest getting of everybody who voted in the community. And then native plants got a high vote count for community interest in the kinds of arts that they wanted to see for the mini mart mural. So we know there's interest in that concept. So, yeah. So this is one idea as you're building out your biennial art plan. So we have stairs here that go down to the visitor center. We also have this space outside the door, which is right underneath these windows here, where you have a staircase, you have this kind of built out picnic area. There's a garden, well, there's grass there as well. And then there in the corner, I just put an example of mosaic. So here you could really do a mixed art installation with, you know, potentially stairs, some more garden treatment here of native plants. So kind of creating a pocket garden, and then along I'll just stand up because I don't know how to describe it with words. Along here, and there's an adjoining one here, you know, you could potentially do some mosaic treatment, but this might be one idea for the biennial art plan on how to create an impactful art treatment here in the city on city-owned property, because there's not a lot of it. So just wanted to offer this as one proposal. I'll keep coming up with different ideas for you all to consider as you begin drafting your biennial art plan. And that's what I have for staff updates.
Couple of quick questions I had on this was, so the budget for this, how does that actually get distributed to like school projects? Does the school give the money and they decide where it goes to the different students, or do we? I'm not sure, I just wanna know, like, what are the usual distribution for something like that would be?
So for the mini mart mural, for instance,
Yeah, for.
so that one, you would treat it the same way. So as you are the Plank project, though, your call for artists would look a little different. So my proposal for you all to consider is the invitation goes to local students. And they could apply as a group, apply individually, but they would put in a submission the way the Plank project is, though I would suggest maybe lowering the requirements for a school student.
Yeah.
So whoever was the winning concept that you all voted on, that you thought could do the project would get the fee. So it's likely to be a group of students based on past experience, but it could be an individual student who puts in a winning proposal.
Okay. I believe that's it. I really like the idea of adding like little animals to the bird mosaic. The picture that was shown in the presentation showed a 3D animal on what looked like a sidewalk, or is that what it was?
It was, so the way this community did it were, full die-cast animals. And they had some on the city sidewalk and then they had some affixed. One was tucked into an overhang on a building. There was one on a bridge, kind of tucked into an awning of a bridge. So and then there are 10 of them. Some are individual mice and some are multiple mice. So one was 3 going up the side of a building.
Oh.
So.
The reason I just brought that up was that I was worried about a tripping concern. And that we might want to keep them off the sidewalks, but if I didn't realize, we're like, oh, up in a tree, not on the sides, that would actually be really awesome.
Yeah,
So
yeah, there's lots of ways to do it to, avoid the tripping hazard. Certainly our insurer would prefer to for that.
I was actually having flashbacks to Seattle Seaside Airport where they have the flat fish on there as a possible thing, but I like the trees better.
Yeah, this was, and I'll come back with more ideas. This was a fantastic presentation, all about introducing community art into different cities. Here in Seattle, they showed a YouTube video of Rainworks where you can treat sidewalks that you don't see during the sun, and then when it rains, the art appears underneath this sidewalk treatment. And it's a group here in Seattle, and they've done it all over the city, and it's really cool stuff.
I worry that the animals will be over budget, right? It just seems that they look excellent.
So I did a quick price check of die-cast animals today on the internet. It depends on how big you make them. So, little ones like that run you about 50 to 70.
Oh, beautiful.
But, again, if you do a massive one, I think you could probably keep it under about $1,000. Again, depending on how many you pick. If you pick 20.
In my mind, we were having to design them and call for artists, but if they're already there, we just kind of.
So I found when I looked at, metal die-cast animals, I found a lot of different ones today. I didn't spend a ton of time on it, but I spent about, 45 minutes looking for them. And there was a pretty good selection.
Awesome.
Especially something like a bald eagle. you're gonna find diecast ball eagles pretty easily.
And off the shelf tends to be really cheap too, so.
Yeah.
Right, any further questions? Thank you for the presentation, I like these ideas a lot. Moving on, move to accept the minutes of previous 2 meetings as is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
I,
All against, say nay. Motion passes.
That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, that's fine. Public content, comment, seeing as there is no public comment, go ahead and move on to existing business, like project, rubric for the artist commit submissions. I believe you have a presentation on that, or?
No, so that was just, if you could get those turned in, I just handed Commissioner Tozer paper copies to get filled out. Commissioner Amber, did you have any to turn in, or?
no,
No, okay. And, it's just as a reminder to move forward with that
Yeah.
project, we need all of those filled out, so,
Did we receive any other submissions before the deadline?
not yet.
Okay,
Yeah, the deadline passed, sorry, yes, no,
Yeah.
we didn't.
Okay.
Yeah,
3.
Yep, just the original.
just the original 3.
Yeah.
Just get those in when you can, I did mine like 2 days ago. They take about 3 seconds, so it's. With good consideration, with good consideration, I promise.
Well, and once we get those in, I mean, if you find that, 2 out of 3 were full conceptual concepts, we could certainly ask artists if they'd be willing to take another set so that we can move forward.
I did have an idea, and I'm not sure if this is something that we could do. This project is pretty much budgeted at this point, correct?
Yeah, it's fully budgeted.
If we cannot get more submissions or we can't get enough from the people that we already have, one of the things we might want to do is put some of the old ones back up and refurbish them, if it's at all possible. And then we'll just have less at Depot Park.
So I don't think we'd be able to do that.
Okay,
Because it's been budgeted as new plant projects. So we would have to go back and amend the city's budget to do that.
okay,
So if the project cannot be done, it would be different. If, ultimately we say the project can't be completed, then we could consider putting the old ones back, but I'd have to do a budget amendment.
okay. Well, we'll put that on the back burner.
Okay.
We'll hope for our best and just hope we can get everything we need.
And if we can't, that's fine. I mean, we could go through the process of doing that.
Any other questions? No problem. Go ahead and move on to the biennial art plan draft youth council September 17th, 2024. So we're gonna need to set some deadlines here. One of the things, did you all have anything before I start speaking? Because I can go on.
No.
One of the things that I would actually like to do, since a lot of us are new here, and I believe we only have one person, which would be Commissioner Tozer, who's actually been around for other biennial plans, that we kind of push quickly for a plan, not so much to just get it done, but so that we have time to amend and put it as necessary. The quicker we get it done, the better we can make it look, the more in-depth we can get it. Something that I would like to see is, for all of us, a couple of meetings ago, we had a list of other cities' biennial plans. Read them over, boil them down to sections that you think that we should have. In my case, I came up with an idea of looking at our past, our present, and our future. That was the one thing that I brought up in the last meeting. That's how I plan to boil things down. I'm going to go off in la la land about light codes, what we did before, where we are now, what we're going to do, character, where we are, what we want to be. Those are my 3 real sections. And then from there, each of us can decide what we want out of the other biennial plans or ideas, original ideas. Let's not say no, original ideas. Moving forward, that way we can start using that extra time, we've built our plan, and then we can use the extra time to massage the leases inside of it until it's ready to get to city council. So something I would love to have for our next meeting to do would be what we want to see in our sections. We don't have to do the past, the present, or the future, that's just my suggestion. It's just I find it's a really helpful one, determine stuff like that. Any questions, any comments, any suggestions?
Sure.
Yes, Mr. Burnett.
So just as a reminder, 1.6 in the public art policy talks about what it has to have.
Oh, good.
So certainly your introduction, executive summary, all those kinds of things can have a statement of purpose, a statement of philosophy. So that narrative part, 1.6 will help you with what it has to have. So that, one thing you could do is kind of flesh out what it has to have and potentially kind of make some deadlines and structure around the required components, and then do the nuances around that, I guess is what I would say. So so it has to have a goal section, anticipated site selection and projects. So that's why, I thought maybe, every meeting I'll come with a different project concept for you all to consider, so that you're not having to come up with a bunch of projects on your own. I can try to help facilitate what projects you want to do. So anticipated site selection and projects. Identification of opportunities and needs for public art across the city. So we started doing that with the material or the public outreach that we got from the workshop here and the Duvall Days interactive exercises. Criteria for ensuring equitable access to displaying art across disciplines and viewpoints. Maintenance requirements. So part of it might be, one person works with city staff and public works on what we have in the city and if we have to budget for any maintenance. So that would be, because we want to make sure when you're putting together the biennial plan and you're getting funded by council, that it's not just the funding for the new stuff, but making sure that they're funding for any maintenance requirements of existing art. Identification of any opportunities for collaboration with outside entities. We talked a little bit about that at the last meeting, like reaching out to For Culture, and then any known funding mechanism for public art. So one person might think about doing, the maintenance piece of it. Another person on Cultural Commission might consider working with city staff on funding and identification of outside collaboration and sources, so that you're not all doing every piece of it. And that might be an easier way to tackle the stuff that's required.
That's smart.
So I'm assuming that's going towards the division of tasks here. I have one that I would like to do, actually, this with you, but I think we should wait for the division of tasks till we have everyone or more people here. Because we've already given Commissioner Rudnicki something to do, and she has not been here to find out that she is actually doing it. And
Voice no objection.
we might want to table that division of tasks to the next meeting, at least, unless we all have something that we want to do from this list of 3 things.
I like the maintenance part, I don't mind taking on stuff.
Yeah, I was actually going to suggest that you do that.
Yeah.
It sounds like you've already got a relationship with them. Yeah. Mine would have been outreach to other groups. It's actually something I've kind of sort of been doing already. At Duvall Days, I was going around talking with the Historical Society, I was going around talking with DFA. Going to the meetings at this point, right now, I have a lot of spare time. I could do that. So I'm fine with doing that. It looks like the funding part of that would need to be one of either the absent ones or either Commissioner Einberg or Damiana, if you have, are so inclined to do so.
I'd probably need a lot of coaching.
Okay. We can actually, if you want, do we have to have a vote on who's taking the test, or can we just volunteer?
No, you don't need a vote. There's also someone who, with all the things that are required, you could very easily have everyone taking, a small part of it. So like, one person focusing on equitable access to displaying public art across artistic disciplines and viewpoints. I mean, somebody who's looking at access, it to some degree will start with picking, the groups of projects that you want, but there should be one person who's looking specifically at access, equity, viewpoint, to make sure that whatever you're proposing meets a lot of different needs. And I know that council will be looking for that.
That's also something that I can do. I'm happy to volunteer for the access, equity, and viewpoint. I could do outreach with other groups, but I actually have more experience in that, working with other organizations over the years, so I'm happy to do that. If everyone's okay with it.
I'm okay with that.
So let's say, Commissioner Tozer, would you be okay with working with the city works and such? Right, so we still need to do outreach with other groups.
I wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah, I was actually thinking you would actually be really good at that, because you're already.
Yeah, I'm already in the group.
Yeah, you're already.
I've already done that, so.
Which means the funding part of it is still undone, which means that would probably go to either Commissioner Damiana, GA, or Frazier, and there, two of them aren't here, unless you're volunteering.
I'm actually not, it's not
That's-
my forte, and it's getting busy.
Understood. Let's go ahead and go with those three that we have, and then table the fourth one to one of the other commissioners, and we can kind of, on top of that, say, hey, of the list that we have here, do you want to help us with these other things, and that would get everyone involved, so that there's no one left out. Awesome, so I go ahead and move that we go ahead, Commissioner McNabb.
I would also just suggest one other way to kind of get started on it is the very first thing is goals for public art in the city of Duvall during the biennium. One very easy thing you all could do before the next meeting is just articulate a goal statement. What are your goals? That would get you, close to getting that element done. And that's something you all can share.
Yeah, and then we can workshop.
Yeah.
Good idea.
We can work on that now if we feel we have it, we want to do that. Again, we're missing three people though, that's my only concern. Is that this is a shared vision where we have quorum, but we don't have everyone.
Right, and I like to write and give it more thought.
So let's all come up with a to-do for the next one, which would, our first to-do is just find someone for the funding and distribute some of the other items. And the second to-do list will be come up with a statement, a goal statement for the next meeting, and then we can hash out from all of our different statements, an actual unified statement from the actual cultural commission. And can I say the word actual any more times?
Goal statement for the commission organization or for the next biennium in general?
For the next biennium in general. Basically, what I'd like to see is a statement that is our intention for the biennial years for this. What our intentions are for art during those biennial years. Which I'm not sure if that's 2 or 1 year, I think it's 2 years. So that would be our next to-do list. For our goals. Remind me to look at what I just said, so I make sure I write to the right thing. Anything further at this point? No? Alright. So our next item on the agenda is about the bridge trolls. I believe we have a speaker for those.
You do.
Feel free to come up and speak.
Right at the podium.
The podium's fine.
And if you want it to be less formal, you can also sit here, but wherever you.
It's fine.
I.
Thank you guys for having me. My name is Randy Berg. I'm a local artist who grew up in the valley. Been here my whole life and graduated in Cedar Crest High School in 2020. And all through my life, I remember seeing the trolls when I go across the bridge. I would point them out in the car, like my mom was driving past. And I remember the last time they were refinished as well was at my elementary school at Eagle Rock. They were displayed like in the common area that was used to refinish them. But I really would like to be a part of refinishing them this time. Mr. Edwards, the original artist, his wife was my elementary school teacher as well. So I remember her very fondly. I spoke to Bruce Edwards about the refinishing of the trolls, and he actually suggested a complete redo of the trolls, as they are not in super great shape. I went across the bridge today and looked at them really closely, and the board that they are on, it's plywood with a sheet and on the front of it too, that's a smoother surface to paint on, and that's peeling completely away from the trolls. So I think it'd be really good to redo them completely. And he walked me through the whole entire process of it. So I have the detailed process as well. It would start with the evaluation and then gathering the materials, priming the board itself. You specified that there was a lot of primer involved to make sure it was very sealed from the weather. I would cut the wood itself and transfer the images to there so I could recreate them in a way that reflects the original art. Paint it and put a top coat on it so that they last a long time again. I also thought that the bridge being closed from July through August would make a really good time to take those apart and look them. Bruce said he's very happy to advise me throughout the process. And I just would be really interested in working on those.
Awesome. Any questions? Are you done? Are you done?
Yeah.
Any questions?
They would look the same, but just updated, right? You
Yeah.
wouldn't make any design changes.
No, not at all.
They're so cute.
Super fun.
You've actually answered both of the questions, or two of my three questions. That my only one is, have you ever worked on something like this before?
And I did a year of art school during the pandemic. And I have worked with wood materials before, and I have worked with art on a large scale as well.
You wouldn't want to work on one of our blanks, would you?
Thanks, Josh.
I'm really interested in getting more involved with the art in town as well, actually.
We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Love to have you. Great, that was all my questions. Anything further?
Will you be undertaking this project completely by yourself, or will you have, like an assistant to help with, you know, just, I wanna make sure you've got all the personal protective gear you need and that you're not, you know, working out on the bridge, you know, hanging by a wire, putting yourself in danger.
I'm not actually sure what the process is to remove them from the bridge, but my plan would be to remove them and then take them to my mom's garage and work on them there.
Do you have any plans for maintenance afterwards? Like, we pretty much just left the bridge fault as it is, and you'll be happy to know we've actually in previous meetings talked about refreshing those things. So we want this done, but do you have any plans for maintenance for that by any chance?
I do not. I know it's if they haven't been touched since the last time they were like refinished, that's been at least 10 years. I don't think that there's like a top coat on them right now, so I hope adding a top coat to this round of refresh will keep them for a long time. I'd be happy to do the maintenance with sanding down and refinishing them again in the future though.
That's a true, yeah.
Hi, Randy. Thank you for coming to us.
Yes.
So it would be helpful, I can share with you that I know city staff would love to support this effort, including not putting you on a bridge to take these down. So I think that, you know, certainly while the bridge is closed, we could help, you know, Public Works Department could help in that effort. One thing that might be helpful is if you could talk to the artist and get a sense of what the cost for the wood and the paint would be, because I would not like to see you have to do all that yourself.
I already laid all of that out.
Perfect, could you email that to me?
Yes,
Okay,
I also have it written down as well.
okay, what is the ballpark, do you think?
It's with the specific wood and the paints he asked for, that is, just those two alone is about $400 for all of the paint and wood for the trolls. There would be some other things as well.
So like 2,000-ish you think would be enough?
That's exactly what he was thinking, actually.
Okay. Perfect, thank you so much.
Anything else? So
Oh,
at this,
sorry,
oh,
I totally forgot, relevant a little bit, but slightly tangential to this is, we have a group that wants to do some service hours here in the city. Who's interested in doing graffiti removal on the bridge as well as moss removal. So it's a really good time to kind of do a glow up of the Woodinville Duvall Bridge, because they're going to do some cleanup of the graffiti and just the state of the bridge as well.
can we get them involved in this? Would we be able to get them involved in this?
No, it's a very specific kind of project. It's an Eagle Scout.
Okay.
I know it just kind of adds on, but is there any chance we could paint the alcoves also?
The alcoves.
Cause it might, adding a little emphasis to it might make them pop a little more, it might make it. Unless we chose white, then it's gonna look really dirty, but maybe there's something else that could complement it.
That would be super cool.
It's a perfect time for me to go to the Economic Development Subcommittee on Friday and ask
I
for
think it'd be super neat.
sort of funding for not only the project, but the paint to make it pop a little bit more.
One final question, is that $2,000 ballpark, does that include payment for you and or the original artist? Or is that just materials?
Bruce advised me to ask for 500 plus materials. This is the first time I've done something like this on a large scale, especially asking a city for money to do this. So I'm happy for suggestions on that.
We should get paid for it.
Yes, absolutely, and 500 seems like a very low amount for the amount of time and effort I think that it would take.
We have a recent example of the art at City Hall for kind of what we paid for artist work, so I think we have a good comp for that,
Okay. What is that?
$1,000.
That's what I had as more of a starting.
Yeah. So what is our to-do list for this? What do we need to do to start work on this? Do we need to vote on anything? Do we need to build commissioner, administrator anything?
Yes, like a consent vote that you would like me to, so you could add it to what you potentially would vote on tonight for use of the remaining funds, or a consent of this body for me to put together a project proposal similar to the project proposal that we did for the art at City Hall. And I would bring it to the Economic Development Committee if you all are interested in me doing so.
I am actually more of a fan of the consent vote to make the project proposal. That way we have something more concrete to vote on. So I'd like to make a motion to go ahead and have the city create a proposal for this that they will present to us at the next meeting for us to vote on whether we will go ahead and move forward.
Is there enough time for that with the maintenance and everything?
That's true.
We're expecting the bridge closure to begin July 9th, so it's June 24th. So the next meeting is July 8th. Randy, how long do you think the project, I mean, you probably don't know until you get into it, right?
Really might be getting close, so.
It's an anticipated 6-week closure. So it's gonna be
And
less
just
than
one person working on it, right?
Wow. Okay.
I'm pretty
Maybe
sure
other people.
I can volunteer for something. In that case,
I should also add, I don't have another meeting of the Economic Development Subcommittee planned. It's this Friday.
okay. Then let's just go ahead and do a general consent vote to just move forward.
And can use the existing funds.
Or we can actually just move it to that because there's other existing, or,
You can
Yes.
pause and consider.
Yeah.
yeah, why don't we go ahead and just move that over to the vote on the remaining funds for the 6,000. Put out a motion to move, well, I don't know if I need to make a motion, to table it, because that's not another meeting.
Yeah, I like this project, I think it's, cause it's a maintenance item, so
Right.
I don't like the idea of always just bringing something in and just voting on it and doing it, cause I do think we need to respect the process, but I think this is a maintenance item of an existing asset that has a long standing history, so I feel personally like that meets certain bars where like we should,
Yeah.
it warrants taking action.
Okay, I'm fine with that, I'm totally cool with that. I just don't know the procedure to make that happen at this point. so.
You can all direct me to take it to the Economic Development Subcommittee on Friday. If they choose not to fund it, you still have time. I will convert that to a project proposal for you all on it.
And can we couple the birds and this thing together and say, hey, here's two projects we may or may not push forward on both, but.
Yeah, so once you see First in Virginia and what the options are there. When you get to the last item, you can all kind of direct me which combination of things you want me to take to the Economic Development Subcommittee. The project proposal that I put before them will look very similar to the project proposal you had, like the same elements. And this one is a little different because you're right, it's largely a maintenance project. But it brings, I think, tourism and economic development to the city. I think it would meet some of the criteria for that, but if they don't fund it, there's probably another way to do so.
So at this point, we should.
I certainly support it with existing funds
Yeah.
or couch funds or something else.
Yeah, I'm 100% behind that, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to figure out how I move forward.
Yeah, that's a month.
Yeah, I mean, the procedure part is what's tripping me up at this point. So, I believe that I'd like to make a motion that we go ahead and have Administrator McNabb send this to the Economic Committee as one of our project proposals, so that we have it ready to go at the next meeting and ready to start as soon as possible. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. Motion passes.
Okay.
I believe I've done that correctly, if not, please let me know. Thank you for the presentation, we look forward to the.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Alright, final business today, which would be a vote on the remainder of the. Oh, I thought we had put that as part of the part of the 6,000 vote, but if that's fine.
So I have a quick PowerPoint on this. Yes. Okay, so next slide. We talked about different concepts so we could get something going on that wall because it has to be spent. The 10,000 has to be spent this year. And I showed you at the last meeting the one furthest on the left, which was the Georgetown neighborhood of Seattle. A greetings from Georgetown mural that they have. It's not right on their main street, it's kind of tucked in, but it draws people into a different part of that neighborhood. It's on the side of, it's a city building. I'm not entirely sure what's inside of it. So talked a little bit about that at the last meeting. There seemed to be interest in moving forward with this, so I found a couple other examples. These are pretty common. You can find them in lots of different cities, so both a benefit and a drawback. You're bringing lots of people in who like these, who would potentially take pictures in front of them. Next slide. A couple more, Austin, East Lansing, El Paso. It does lend itself to the Duvall through the ages because you would have a different, age of Duvall in each of the letters. It's kind of those things where you would think about maybe putting it in front of the mini mart because it's an entrance to the city. The problem is these are quite large and you really wouldn't be able to fit much in that space. So the space of First in Virginia lends itself to something, that is quite large. And so I put together a project proposal for this, next slide. Which is I would anticipate 8 to 10 panels, 6 for the word Duvall, and then with some active panels at the beginning and the end, because they tend to be a little more, artistic on either side of the letters. We've already talked about setting the theme as Duvall through the ages. I think in order to kind of get this project done, you would want to paint the entire surface to create consistent background, just treat the entire wall so you don't have, untreated wall, but have particularly in the large sections and then towards this part of the city is probably where you would want to center it. There's 26 panels there, but as previous discussions, articulated, it would be incredibly expensive to treat all 26 panels. So I think, trying to get a concept there that offers something to the city that isn't carrying over the money and trying to either fundraise or get more money into the art plan when there are other ideas that city council might want to fund. I think it's probably smart, this is not in an area that is super high traffic. It's not in a business area, so it's not gonna pull a ton of economic development. So getting city council to wanna fund 26 panels of it might be a challenge. I mean, they might, but I think, if you put something there, you might build interest in adding more to it versus just an empty wall in a residential neighborhood right now. I would suggest that you do an open invitational for any artist in the region who's interested in this kind of mural work. We already have art that's designed for kind of limited invitation or specific invitational because of the funding here where we don't have a ton of money to devote to this project. I don't know that you would want to limit it to only a certain class of artists. I mean, you want to get the project done.
Right.
So the final slide, I just came up with a couple options for potential budget here. So you have $10,000. Option 1 is design only. You get someone to just design that wall, but you certainly will not have enough for any additional work if you try to do the entire wall. So even design only at 26 panels is probably going to be a bit of a challenge if you try to tackle the whole project. Option number 2 is in budget with $3,000 economic development support. This anticipates that concept of a community painting exercise. I will share that at the AWC conference, I did go to a session about community art and building livable cities. And they showed a lot of different projects where the design was etched into a space and the community came together and painted in the preset design, and we've confirmed that we can close down that street and potentially create like an artist in the community. In that case, if we do something like that, I don't know that this is the right amount, but $2,000 in purchase paint and supplies, probably another $2,000 in city labor and supplies, and then I put in miscellaneous of $1,000 because if we're going to close the street and do have the community engaged, that comes with a certain amount of cost. If we're going to bring, we have to get permits, we bring food trucks. So that's a concept of asking for economic development support to build that out. The other concept is increasing the budget with the remaining $5,000 to $6,000 of cultural commission funding and pay more in design. Cause the option number 2 is $8,000 in design, but again, with an open invitation, you might get more people. Who'd be willing to do it for $8,000 and just sketch it out and have the community paint versus the artist paint. So that is what I wanted to present to you so that you could, consider a concept for getting that work done. So you can kind of check it off and move on.
I love this. I love this. I'm a big fan of this. I think we've already come down that we know we're gonna do Duvall through the 8th. We were all very happy with the Duvall name theme. I think that we should just move forward with this at this point. I like the idea of,
Etching,
I'm sorry,
the etching with the filling in.
I'm sorry, etching or sketching, because etching is quite different.
I think you just want like hard sketch if you're
Yeah.
planning on the community. You want to make sure that people know what they're painting.
Yeah.
And like, kind of like paint by numbers,
Yeah.
like this is,
Right. Blue here.
green, yeah, yeah.
I'm very, very, very happy with this. Do we want to go ahead and just move forward with it at this point? I'm happy with what we're seeing here. Any other suggestions, comments?
Yeah, like, so we would be pushing it forward to the economic development grant to secure the other $3,000.
Yeah,
Yes. So we can do that as well.
And then if for some reason they don't fund it, we can,
Use probably the other 6,000 or find something else to do, or find other different source of funding.
I like the idea of people that don't consider themselves great artists being able to be artistic.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a very charming video that I watched from, I wanna say a city in Connecticut. And they had done a mural like this and they had just people of all walks of life, and then they showed them like 6 months later, coming and being like, oh, well, this square is my square. It was very charming.
I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of saying I did that.
well, and for kids to be able to do it, right, and then as they grow up to keep coming back to it. Oh, this is,
I did this in
I
second
did
grade.
this, yeah.
I graduated and I did this in second grade. All right, so anything further? Then I would like to move to have Administrator McNabb take this also to the Economic Committee to see if we can get funding for it. And move forward, and I think that's where we should end. We should end. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you kindly for the presentation. I'm very happy with this. And final piece of business for today is a vote on the remainder of the funds for $6,000. I believe we had a list of projects that we could probably work on, push this for and vote for, because I believe a vote needs to happen today on this.
Well, it doesn't. So if you want to take the trolls and augmenting this project for community participation to the Economic Development Subcommittee, that leaves $6,000 to do the mini mart. If you choose to spend the money that way, and then you could get that project started too, and I don't have to take that to the Economic Development Committee.
The only problem with that though is if the Economic Development Committee doesn't give us the money for the trolls and the panels, then we're.
Well, you would still have $10,000 to do the design of it.
Right.
So you could defer this and you defer the vote, find out what they're going to fund. And then at the next meeting, you can take this vote. Because you have 3 good ideas, 2 of which I've been directed to take to that committee. You'll know before the next meeting whether or not they're going to.
Okay, so we're not bringing all 3 ideas to the committee?
I mean, it's up to you what you want me to ask them for.
So money for the trolls, money for First in Virginia, what was our other?
The mini mart.
Oh, mini mart. Or we-
Or if you could choose that combination too. A reminder that the purpose of the economic development and tourism grant is to drive tourism to the city of Duvall. So of these three, which do you all believe would best meet that? I mean, so all of them roughly cost about the same.
Right,
So I think, you know, choosing which two you would like me to bring to the subcommittee. The Troll Project has a benefit of having a local artist, and you know, maintaining something that is important to the city and has been for a long time.
right. I think that the Troll Project and the Mini Mart mural would have a better chance of, because they are in a residential area, and then you can put another 3,000 to 4,000 at First in Virginia.
That makes sense, yeah.
And if we designate like 4,000 for First in Virginia, we'll still have 2,000. Or if we do 3,000 for First in Virginia, we still have 3,000 for the trolls, if it falls through.
You're talking math with me in that, Jim.
Written.
I don't even play bank with balance.
So,
Go ahead.
I don't know if we still have a whiteboard here, thanks for giving this for me to
Oh, no problem.
figure out and see if I can do a visual on this.
And the Birds of the Valley is separate,
The Bird of the Valley is, I believe, the mini mart.
is the name, or, okay.
Oh, is that not out, 6,000? That was what you said.
Oh, we have 6,000 in surplus funds.
Yeah.
Or not surplus, but 6,000 in undesignated, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, once we start talking budget, my brain blanks out. Money is not a good thing. Yeah, I have to calculate, that's what I have.
Yeah, that's really a struggle. But I'm okay with some aspects, of mine, sometimes it's all supposed to be.
Honestly, I'm trying to think of what would please the economic folks a bit more, which would probably be the welcome to Duvall, because that is a welcome statement. And the mini mart, because it's the first thing you see coming in, versus the trolls, which are great to look at, but you can't walk to them because they're on a busy street. So I would be willing to put those two and leave the trolls for, you know, the local funding, just the 6,000 that we have right now.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm
And
thinking.
then we can vote on that tonight.
Yeah,
And-
Push that one forward.
Yeah.
okay, excellent. Yeah, that's. Okay, so mini mart.
I feel like that's something that has to happen, and the timing is right, and all the things are aligned, you gotta, that has to happen.
Yeah.
Don't leave it to chance.
Okay, so that would mean changing what we're asking at.
So it's only 4 minutes of time. Okay, so you have $6,000 and you have 3 things to spend it on.
So while we're making that, we kind of talked about it, we're like, what would the economic commission want to see from us that would actually drive tourism to the town? And the welcome to Duvall logo would be the #1 thing, because it actually is a welcoming statement and says, hey, come here. Secondly, the mini mart is the first thing you see coming into town from Woodville Duvall, so those two I think would be our biggest projects to give to the economic team. And then using the trolls, we can vote for the 6,000 on the troll project, or whatever we're gonna budget for the troll project tonight on that, just to get that started. So I'm fine with that set of directives, if you all are. If you all have any other ideas, I'm happy to hear them.
Well, I think the trolls actually are a little less. I think it's probably closer to 3. Yeah.
Okay, so we would still have $3,000 to spend on something which we could distribute to the mini market.
Probably depends if we paint the alcove.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I added 5. That's why my notes, because yeah, adding additional paint treatments.
So even if it's 4, we still maybe have the unallocated balance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can guess something. Paint the polars.
Or go to support and fill a gap if you get a partial fund or whatever.
And I think going to 4 for the trolls is actually good, and then we can make sure that we have, maybe the artist gets a little more, because this is a big project.
Yeah.
Right, especially if we're just going to do alone, so I think 1,500 to 2,000 is almost reasonable for the artist fee for that.
Then in that case, I'm gonna make 2 motions. The first one is to direct Administrator McNabb to redirect Administrator McNabb to go to the economic team and pitch our mini mart and the name logo for funding for tourism. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against, say nay. Motion passes.
And that has a benefit that I've already prepared the PowerPoint, so.
Sweet. Second motion would be to allocate 4,000 of the 6,000 that we have towards the toll project. And to just get it started, get it started on that. Can I get a second on that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against, say nay. Motion passes. Sweet. Anything further on this before we move on?
We're putting in local artists,
Yeah, I just wanna say, it's really exciting, and to think, by October, these projects being done and the beauty it's gonna add to the city is very exciting.
I'm a big fan of refreshing the art out here. We came here for the art, we've watched it slowly kind of break out, we're like, let's bring it back in.
There's also what's the word, what are the words that are written on the big old bridge platform on the way into town? Remember?
Duvall is the hardware store.
Yeah.
Hardware store thing, they repainted that in 2015.
Still looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Anything further, Commissioner Damiano, do you have anything further about First Virginia?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
There'll be a call for artists for a Birds of the Valley themed mural.
I put to call to the students, because it's traditionally been a student led, but you all can decide.
No, that's,
Yeah.
that's,
I'm fine with this.
I glazed over that part,
I'm
yeah.
happy with that, yeah.
So that won't happen until September, right? Cause they're not
Yeah.
in school anymore.
Yeah, but,
We still have to do the back.
yeah, and you'll wanna get that probably underway pretty quickly, so before the faculty hits.
Okay.
Alright. And
And
then,
we're ready to start the school year. Then.
here's something for you to do.
Right, yeah. I'm too art.
In that case, we'll move on to the good of the order. Does anyone have anything for good of the order?
I have a question.
Yes.
So the farmer's market reached back out, and I think it was the 25th was the only date they weren't available. I sent it out in an email. Jen, you responded, was there anybody else that wanted to attend the farmer's market?
I would do a Thursday.
And then were you I can go?
There's,
I remember you said there was a date that didn't work for you.
yeah, I'm happy to go and help. There's a farmer's market that city council, I think 2 of the farmer's markets city council can go to. And I'll get the dates for you.
That was it.
That was actually something that I wanted to bring up as well. I mean, nothing that means a decision or anything, so I think it's okay to put it in the good of the order. We received your email, which basically said this is what the communications folks, these are the folks that we talked to. I think that our issue is public engagement at this point, not so much community. And that we can't really rely on digital announcements, although we should still do them because their algorithms are just not serving them up in time. And that outreach like the farmer's market is going to be what works. When you opened up, or when the city opened up City Hall, the information we got was tremendous. And basically, we're just gonna have to go out and say, hey, here's what we're doing, tell us what you want. So that, you know, something like this was gonna be doing the farmer's market, finding other things, to just go out and do,
Yeah, so we have, our staff, our city booth at Summer Stage, and I mean, you all could come to every Summer Stage if you'd like. The only thing we have,
Good idea.
yeah, we have flyers at that booth, we have first aid at that booth, so it's, people stop there to kind of ask questions, so that would be a great. We could look into getting some swag, city swag that you could hand out.
Does the booth have any, like, is there a banner or anything that?
Yeah, we have a city banner, it just says City of Duvall.
I think that's something that we should really look into, is just going out and grabbing people and saying, hey, put your eyeballs on this. So that we can actually get some meaningful data off of that of what they want. And actually get people who are willing to work with us, because I mean, the plank project, I love this project, but we only have three
Yeah.
submissions.
And
So-
I sent like personal, you know, the info to artists I knew, I'm like, but everybody is either full or doesn't feel it's their forte.
Yeah, it's a big specific project, I mean, it's, yeah.
The only other thing I have for good of the order is that while passing out posters for the plank project, I caught up with the owner of Red Pepper Pizza. He says he's fine with a mural on the side. And in fact, that he hasn't done it yet because he doesn't know the zoning, whether he can actually do that or not. He suggested that he's already working with someone in the city on that. I didn't quite get the name. But that as soon as they figure out exactly what can go up, he's happy to do, to paint that side of the building and to contact his wife, who I believe is the one who actually owns the building. So he's actually really cool with that, so that's something we can look forward in a future meeting. Anything further?
So if we, just more about promoting, these projects. Should we do it outside city limits or stick within the city?
That's actually a really good question, I don't know if we could do that.
I mean, when I put up posters for Art and Bloom and shook hands and talked to different owners of wineries. I went to, you know, grocery stores, meat markets.
I know that we have kind of I've seen a two division thing where we have things inside the city limit and then Riverview School District. Which is much bigger. So I don't know, is there anything keeping us from going to like North Bend and saying, hey, we've got some stuff up here you all might be interested in?
I think it depends on what the thing is you're promoting. You know, open invitational art, I think you could promote anywhere you felt comfortable, Woodinville, North Bend, because you're seeking artists from, you know, lots of different places. You know, certainly sponsored events could be promoted, and I will tell you, city council wants more people to come to events and to come to Duvall. So I think it just depends on what kind of engagement you're trying to do, getting feedback on the biennial art plan and what council will fund, I would say. That's probably more for those in Duvall whose tax money goes to fund art in Duvall, so, you know, I guess it just depends on what the thing is you're trying to gain feedback and participation in.
On top of that, there's no point in going to North Bend and saying, hey, do you want to paint our welcome to Duvall? I don't think they're gonna like that as much.
Yeah.
You had a question, Jeremy?
No, I was just gonna mention with posters and everything, just like Commissioner Einberg was saying, going out to Woodinville, Redmond. For event stuff, yeah, that's pretty typical.
I think that, yeah, I think that's a great idea to go outside and just explore what we can, where we can pass out some posters and such.
And I think if I person a booth, I'd like to shadow someone first to see what kind of questions and responses.
I've met booths before, for different organizations, I just did one at Carnation Pride. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. I'm planning to go to at least 3 of the farmers markets. And one of the summer is a summer stage one, so you're welcome to shadow me. Okay.
The other thing we can do, which is what we did in all days, is we handed out. It depends on what you want to get feedback on, right? But we handed these cards out, and we made participation and public feedback, really low impact, low entry, which was, here's a postcard, circle what you want.
Mhm.
And it engaged the community in, you know, more conversation about, hey, I'd like to see more of this, even if it's not what's on the card. So as we think about farmers market and summer stage, if there's something that, a question you want asked, the city can help prepare an exercise that doesn't force you all to try to engage off the cuff. I mean, this was, hey, you know, that mini mart mural, what do you wanna see? And then, you know, it was a good opportunity for folks to talk about other things, like, oh, I remember the giraffes, you know.
That's great. Maybe something posted at the side of the booth that just gives a brief intro to, this is what we're thinking about doing. And then they can maybe ask questions.
Yeah, I mean, by, you know, I would say I probably wouldn't plan for July. Maybe August, September, because by then you'll have a couple ideas of future art projects that you could space on like a postcard, like, what do you think about this? Like, put a dot on the one you like best, or put a dot on, we could do what we did before, but more specific, like the stairs at the visitor center, or like other projects that you're thinking about, you can, because part of the public art policy and creating your biennial plans that you engage the community in. And you've already started doing that, like giving this information, the dot exercise, but if you have a couple kind of baked ideas, you could bring those to the farmers market in summer stage.
One last thing before we adjourn, can we get a copy of the First of Virginia presentation, because it's not on the agenda, so we don't have a link to it, just mail it to us.
Yeah, and I can send this staff report PowerPoint too, that has the stairs and the mini mart.
Commissioner Coastal.
3 quick things that I wanted to put in other people's brain too, I think it was 23, and it's continuing here again, but we did a piano on Main Street, I don't know if you guys remember that, it was super fun, it might be something worth thinking about doing again, I mean, that was the same piano we dropped and broke later on, but that was really fun. And then the book bench, if anybody remembers the book bench,
I love all the
books.
books.
I would love to see a recreation of that in some way, it doesn't have to be out of action books, but that was a fun thing.
So I found pictures because I wasn't familiar with the book bench, but the library wasn't there at that time, right?
Not there, no, it was
So,
here, yeah.
yeah, so, yeah, so we could partner potentially with the library, I'm curious.
It'd be super cool, that was a really fun thing.
I love that book bench, I'm
It's
sad.
been on that, yeah. So,
Oh, you're bringing it.
I know, right? And then the other thing I wanted to really quick mention a little bit, but I don't recall seeing the results of that survey or the dots, I don't remember seeing anything. But I might have missed it when I wasn't here. But-
Yeah, we went through it while you weren't here.
Okay,
I don't know.
I don't think it was linked in the meeting agenda, but
One of the things you can do is go to the YouTube channel and actually
Watch
go
it.
through.
We have the
Yeah, I
card.
believe it was.
it'd be nice if that kind of stuff was embedded in the meeting pack, I think. It's not very accessible to the community either, I don't think, but. It's bad, I don't recall seeing that, I know I wasn't here, so
Mhm.
my fault. but-
Yeah, I showed a couple images of the dot exercise, which, so we opened City Hall during Duvall days. And I had, oops, oh, luckily that's empty. I had 2 things for the community to do. The first was I had a stack of these, and the question was, vote for a theme for the mini mart mural. And it had birds of the valley, veteran, hometown hero, native plant, indigenous history, giraffes, LGBTQIA, community influx, other. I had quite a few kids write in Kraken and other sports stuff. So I presented the results of that at the last meeting, and then the other thing is, so the question we asked here during the workshop is, what kinds of things do you want to see in the city? And I gave everyone 6 dots that enter City Hall to put on there. I think we might have brought it back. So the 2 top gettingest were indigenous art and more murals, and the third was mosaic, close tie with water features. But we got, oh gosh, I can't remember how many votes, close to 300 plus people came in.
Super valuable information, I think it'd be neat even to just post the results in some form or fashion on the DCC page, I mean, that gives you solid ground to work from.
Yeah.
Here's what we did, here's a result. Yeah,
Like a tabulation of everything.
right, exactly, I mean, I think that really is useful stuff if we use it, so. That's it, that's my freaking.
Anything further? Right, and moving on. I will go ahead and say that the cultural commission meeting for June 10th, 2024 is adjourned at 6:51 PM. Thank you all.
Thank you.